And so, okay, so Dennis, take it away.
Yes, thank you.
I think so. I think we should stop everything and announce that. Please announce that Ken Dixon just died.
There we go.
Ken Dixon.
I'll let you.
No,
Please
well,
announce.
well, I think we just received some news that Ken Dixon passed away. We didn't know he was in hospice the last few days, but Miss White just found out. So, his family in prayers.
Can I ask for a moment of silent prayer for that, please?
Go ahead, sir. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate that. All right. So my name is Dennis London, and I'm just here to talk to you about Don't California My Texas. And I'm sure many of you have heard the Don't California My Texas saying. You've probably seen it on Facebook, on the internet. People have shirts, there's bumper stickers and everything like that. So a little bit about me, and then we'll get started. I was born in Baltimore. I lived there until I was 17, joined the Marine Corps, and traveled around the world, saw all sorts of different cultures, met different people, saw different governments, and realized how good we had it back home. I was born and raised as a Democrat and didn't really know it, but I realized eventually that, hey, that's not right. You know, so that's where that went. A little bit more since then. I'm a business owner. I'm a Roman Catholic. I'm in the Knights of Columbus, Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem. I'm a member of the U.S. Marshals Posse. I'm a member here, Rockwall Republican Hispanic Club, Men's Club, and Women's Club. I'm a founding member of the Marine Corps League, Detachment 1465 out here in Rowlett. A member of the American Legion, Band of Brothers, and the DAV. And if you ask pretty much anybody that knows me, they'll tell you that moving here, I found my inner cowboy. I think it's very common to see me usually wearing my cowboy hat, wearing boots and a belt, and yeah, so I'm there. Okay, so let's get on to this. All right, where are the Californians going? Okay, they're leaving. They're going to Arizona. They're going to Washington, and they're coming here to Texas. Now, is it anywhere in particular in Texas? Do they have an agenda? Maybe, possibly, sure. But 52% of registered voters considered leaving California for one of the three following reasons, and this was a poll taken of Californians. The high cost of housing, 71% of them said they just can't afford to live there anymore. High taxes, 58% of them. And then the political culture, conservatives, 46% said they were probably going to leave in the next 2 to 5 years. So why are people leaving that sunshine state? And I know this is going to be small, and I apologize. So lack of affordable housing, taxes, state income tax is the highest in the nation at 13.3%. Second highest gas taxes at 55 cents a gallon plus 18 cents comes to 73 cents per gallon in just tax. According to AAA, and I looked that up this morning, the average price per gallon is $4.40 for regular. Premium is $4.72. If you go into San Francisco, Los Angeles, or San Diego, you're talking over $5. Traffic. So we all have heard about, the woes of traffic here in Dallas, and sometimes on 30, right? We know that it can be congested, and it can take you 20, 30 minutes just to cross the 2.5, 3 miles. It would take about 2 hours to go 25 miles in Los Angeles during not the peak of rush hour, but the beginning or end of it. The peak of it would be about 3 hours. And that's no kidding. I mean, we used to do that. Then, of course, they're leaving because of politics. Maybe there's problems with immigration, crime, population density, an inhospitable business climate. As a small business owner, we were getting taxed to death. that we were paying almost as much in taxes as you were for one of your employees. The list goes on. Okay, but first off, not all Californians are the same. Okay? There are people like me who are political refugees. Okay? We escaped. We had a plan. We executed the plan and we got out. Okay? They're usually your strong Republicans that were tired of the idiocracy of the Democrat rule, typically gun owners or, strong supporters of the Second Amendment, proud Americans, mostly they're veterans, support the military, police, first responders, and they understand that our country is being overrun by illegal immigrants. And it's not just what everybody thinks coming from the southern border. There are Korean gangs that are coming in, the Japanese, the Chinese, there's Taiwanese, there's German, there's Russian, there's Slovak, Polish. I mean, it is literally, the list goes on. There's a reason every country in the world has people wanting to leave there to come here. But we never hear of anybody wanting to leave here to go there. Have you ever heard of anybody wanting to, just cross the border and jump over and take a boat over to Venezuela? No. Colombia? No. All right, they want to come here. They also have the integrity and the wherewithal so that they're willing to do whatever it takes, even if it means to the inconvenience of their families, their friends, their jobs, their schools. They will leave it all behind to start anew, leaving California to come here. Okay, these are the people we want coming to Texas. But some of them only move because their job has moved them here. That was the only reason. They're typically a Democrat, they're an independent, they don't know what they are, or they're a rhino. Okay, oh no, I'm a Republican. Okay, but they follow the Democrat aspect of it. They're Republican in name only. They can't understand why Texans appear to be so backwards on an open border issue. Why do you care? I mean, everybody's just coming to better themselves. Just let them in. That's what they're thinking. Coexistence of all religions. Well, why can't we all just get along? Yeah, everybody, we're all good together. Okay. How about, we're backwards with regards towards the acceptance of the 7+ genders and the 60+ sexuality preferences. I think mostly we're all one man, one woman, and that's the way God made us, right? So they also don't believe in killing a convicted murderer. No, you can't do that. Oh, but we're going to fight you tooth and nail so that someone can have an abortion. Right? That is just, that's all kinds of wrong right there. They believe the American flag is a symbol of oppression. They believe that America has a systemic racism problem which is based purely on white supremacy. Nobody else can get ahead. Although there was a great book written by, I believe he's a Chinese man who came over here, and he's called, the title of the book is called, what was it? It's the Inconvenient Minority is the name of it. Jim's nodding. I think you may have read it. And he talks about how, I'm sorry, we're the minority that you guys can't really support because, we get ahead, we work hard, we succeed in school. So yeah, they are the inconvenient minority, which is also why a lot of Asians are now being classified as white. Did you know that? Democrats are reclassifying them. Isn't that great? Okay, let's see. The ones that we don't want here, they also hate the military, they hate the police, they hate guns, they hate the fact that you own guns. Oh, except when they're used against, us deplorable Neanderthals. Right, so that's when they're okay with it. But how do you tell the difference between the one you want and the one you don't? Well, if you can talk to them, usually doesn't take long to figure that out, right? You can ask, did your job move you here or did you choose to move here? Oh, my job moved me here. Yeah, probably going to be on the camp you don't want. All right, their vehicle, more than likely we'll give them away. How is that? They'll have an LGBTQ rainbow sticker with the little license plate frame that, maybe they have coexist all over their car. Stick family will probably show 2 mommies and 2 daddies. Yeah, that's always a fun one. And then if you are friends with them because they're your neighbor or your coworker or whatever, their social media posts will definitely give them away. That they can't help. But of course I'm overreacting, right? They're not that bad. Well, so let's compare a few things here. I'm going to build this slide out. So we're going to talk a little bit about IDs and driver's license, difference between what Texas has and what California has. Same thing with voting. We'll talk a little bit about ballot harvesting, because, ballot harvesting, well, that's the same as in California and Texas, right? I mean, it's all the same. It's just, oh, no, it's not. Taxes, and then crime, because crime is crime. What's the difference? Yeah, we'll talk about that. So, driver's license. Everybody in here has a driver's license, I'm sure. And we all had to provide proof of vehicle registration, proof of insurance, proof of residency, proof of citizenship, a marriage certificate if you happen to be a lady who changed your last name. And sometimes there's other things that are involved. That's just a small list. But we all had to go through that. And some people I know got turned away because they didn't have one of those. And so now they're like, oh, okay, well, to get a driver's license in California, there's no vehicle required. You just have to have proof of insurance and proof of residency. That's it. That's a utility bill. You don't need anything else. They're giving them to illegal aliens and to undocumented workers. And then just recently, the Real ID Act forced changes to the California ID policy because even TSA wouldn't accept a California driver's license. Voting comparisons. So how do we vote in Texas? We check IDs. And it has to be an acceptable form of an ID. Texas driver's license issued by DPS. Texas election identification certificate issued by DPS. Texas personal identification card issued by DPS. You can still use your Texas handgun license issued by DPS. A United States military identification card with photograph, or a U.S. citizenship certificate with photograph. U.S. passport can be the book or the card. All right, now voting in California. I don't know if you can read that. It says no ID required. The California Secretary of State website states, and I'm quoting, in most cases, a California voter is not required to show identification to a polling place worker before casting a ballot. Mail-in ballots have already been mailed to voters for the upcoming recall election for Governor Newsom. They've already mailed these out, or they're still being in the process of mailing them out. You want to bet if they're the same ones that are all on the register polls, or are they just sending them out to whoever? I know down in Harris County, they wanted to send it out to 2.5 million when there's only, 1.7 registered? So, yeah, you think California's going to be any better? No. Ballot harvesting. So in Texas, representatives could go to a senior or other care facility to pick up completed voter packets. That is legal. In California, representatives went to the facilities and helped them fill out the packets, or just filled them out for them. They picked up empty blank ones and filled them out and did it. They didn't bother doing any checks on signatures or anything like that. And I'm sure we've all heard about that. And there's a link to the heritage.org, and I'll get you the slides and you can share all this out with everybody. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about taxes. So Californians voting for tax increases, that kind of sounds like, why would you do that to yourself? But Democrats will put initiatives on the ballot. They just need signatures to put anything on the ballot, and they'll make it appealing. It'll be about teachers, wildfires, the roads, parks. We need parks. We need money for the parks. How about the schools? We need to improve the schools, right? Whatever. They're going to make it sound really good. And the title and the content will not match up. All right, there was a great video by Dan Crenshaw who talks about the political cynicism in a Here's the Truth video. And I'll send this link out to Edna and you guys can watch it. I'm not going to run you through this here. Then there's going to be an advertising blitz that they'll do online. Most will vote after the social media campaigns. Only tell them why and how the increase in this tax is going to be a good thing. Whether it's going to be a half cent, quarter cent, 1 cent, don't worry, it's only going to be temporary. When was the last time you ever heard of a tax being temporary? Yeah, but they believe it. They really do, which is sad. And then recently, the California voters are now showing resistance to voting themselves new taxes. And it's actually puzzling to a lot of the news commentators and a lot of the reporters because they can't figure out how California could vote for top ticket Democrats, but they also vote for the down ballot Republicans, and they're now tax hesitant and conservative on many of the other issues. But yet the Democrats are winning all the top seats. It's starting to make people think. Right, crime. Crime's a fun topic. And I know we've got a couple guys here. Jim and my buddy. What's up? All right. Mark's just smiling. Okay, so California prisons are overcrowded. Whose prisons aren't nowadays, right? Prisons are just overcrowded. Well, the Democrats decided, you know what, if we legalize marijuana, we will help remove some of the burden and, get these guys out. But you know what, we're only going to do it for nonviolent felons. That's it, just nonviolent. Well, that wasn't enough. So what they did is they actually went in and they redefined what nonviolent is. Let me walk you through what California now considers to be nonviolent felonies. Rape of an unconscious person. Assault with caustic chemicals. Human trafficking of a child. Abduction of a minor for prostitution. Drive-by shooting or shooting on foot at an inhabited dwelling or vehicle. Assault with a firearm. Serial arson. Felony domestic violence. Wait, violence is in the name. Assault by a caregiver on a child under the age of 8 that could result in death or coma. Exploding a bomb to injure people. Felony elder or dependent adult abuse. Or conspiracy to commit any of the above offenses. Those are just some of the list. The list was actually about 22 or 23 things long. I only picked out about a dozen here. But that is what California now considers to be nonviolent. And those people got released into their population. But since we're talking about prisons, in California, it's $100,000 a year to house a prisoner. That's as much as the cost to go to Harvard for a year. Their prison population is 130,000 people. If you want to do that math, it'll come out to $13 billion is how much California spends on their prisons. Compare that to Texas, where our prison population is 158,000. And in 2019, the cost to run the prisons in Texas was only $3.8 million. That's $24,000 a year per inmate. It's a little more reasonable. Okay, it's basically 1/4 the cost of California. And since we're talking about criminals, California felons now have voting rights. They've been restored. Assembly Bill 2466, authored by 2 Democrats out of San Diego and Culver City, restored the voting rights for felons. And they said that the passage could translate to approximately 50,000 new voters. Guess who they're going to vote for? People that just gave them their right to vote back. And most of them actually are still going to be voting from their jail cells. So most former felons in California are now also eligible to be on jury duty. Yeah, isn't that great? How's that for a jury of your peers? Not my peers. But also, okay, let me clarify this. The right to a jury of your peers allows people with previous felony convictions to be called as long as they're not on parole or probation and they aren't registered felony sex offenders. The rest of it, that's okay. They can be in the jury of your peers. Transgender criminal laws. These were introduced this year. So the Respect Agency and Dignity Act allows jailed persons to self-identify as transgender, non-binary, or intersex and indicate whether they prefer to be searched by or housed with males or females, regardless of how God created them. Californians were assured this would be safe. Don't worry. Don't worry. We know that some of these guys are going to identify as women. They'll be safe. Don't worry about it. You know, our sworn duty is to protect people from sexual assault and violence. Don't worry, we got you covered. All right? This includes not just prisons, but residential re-entry facilities. So even when they're not inside incarcerated, now that they're in a re-entry facility. And as of August 6th, there were 1,274 people incarcerated in the California prison system who identified themselves as transgender or having some symptoms of gender dysphoria. So let's talk a little bit about how that's working. In August, earlier this month, reports surfaced that a female inmate was impregnated by a transgender male mate. And the CDCR denies the report, of course, because that can't be right. The Women's Liberation Front works directly with the female prisoners and says that they're closer to the issues on the ground and that the CDCR is silencing women. Well, as of April, there have been 261 requests for transfers, 21 were allowed, and one incarcerated woman told the LA Times guards warned them, quote, "The men are coming," and to expect sexual violence. The Central Cali Women's Facility moved to provide birth control methods to female inmates. They're giving them condoms and morning after pills called Plan B. Sexual acts aren't allowed in California prisons and resulting in disciplinary action, so you shouldn't be afraid. We have rules against this. Yeah, okay. Well, so far, at least one female prisoner has become pregnant inside the Central California prison system by a biological male felon who was transferred to the facility. And now you got to remember this, and I have this written up here. Within the prison system, all sex is considered non-consensual, which means, yes, no matter how you look at this, she was raped in prison by a man pretending to be a woman. Now there's rumors that California female prisons are going to be adding maternity wards because they don't see this stopping. Okay, the reason I'm telling you this is because it's a mentality. All right? But if you think this isn't happening in Texas, Austin ISD approved new sex education curriculum in 2019. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. Spans grades 3 through 8. And the district teaches students about gender identity and sexual orientation. The lessons are going to help the kids identify an adult that they can trust, not mom or dad. An adult they can trust, plus someone that they can talk to about the options if they get pregnant. We're talking 3rd through 8th grade. 7th graders actually are going to learn how to use a condom. They began teaching kids about oral and anal sex. And this radical sex education policy provided graphic instruction on gender identity and even mandated support of the LGBTQ, LMNOP, whatever movement. Students in grade school and middle school are being taught how to get an abortion or how to obtain birth control pills without parental permission or consent. Because that's what we want our kids, right? This is in Austin. This isn't California now. I'm talking about what's happening in our state. He's like, well, kind of. All right. All right. What about Dallas-Fort Worth metro area? Dallas County DA John Creuzot won't prosecute low-level crimes. We've all heard about this. Kendra Culpepper said, not in my county. Don't you come across that lake and try any of that stuff over here. All right, first offense, marijuana, THC possession. As long as it doesn't occur in a drug-free zone, involve the use of exhibition or of a deadly weapon, or involve evidence of delivery, we're not going to prosecute you. That's what Dallas says. Criminal trespass, that's been changed. So now his intake prosecutors have been instructed to dismiss all misdemeanor criminal trespass cases that do not involve a residence or physical intrusion into a property. Theft of necessary items, I think we've all heard about this one, where as long as it's not over $750 and you're not trying to do it for monetary gain, for economic gain. If it's personal need, you need it, if it's under $750, I'm just going to take it. I think it was, I can't remember which Dallas mall, they were showing videos of people just walking out with armfuls of clothes and shoes and all valued at under $750, and the guards are just standing there. We can't do anything. And that's in Dallas. So critical race theory and the LGBTQ plus whatever ideologies, okay, they're already being snuck into our schools, our libraries, curricula, and parents are involved now. We know that for a fact, especially here in Rockwall, in some of the surrounding counties. But you got to remember, the blue wave started years ago. This isn't anything new that's just popped up. They didn't just surface. They didn't just come up for air. They're not prairie dogging just out of nowhere. They came up onto your back porch and they've been there for a while. So the Houston Registrar battled to keep non-citizens on the voters roll. That was just down Harris County. Tarrant County went blue thanks to ballot harvesting. You got to remember, Cruz only lost by 3,800 votes. Fleeing Texas Democrats have created a case that the state is so riddled with racial discrimination it can't be trusted to enact our own voting laws without approval from Washington. That's why they're pushing so hard for H.R. 1 and put the elections under federal control. Democrats won 5 of the biggest counties in the last election: Dallas, Bexar, El Paso, Travis, Harris. Okay, because people there are so woke? Is that why they won? Well, I don't know about that. Or was it because it's easier to hide the fraud in larger numbers than it is instead of trying to do it in dozens of smaller counties? I think that's really what it is. They can get away with it in the larger scheme of things. Thomas Sowell: ours may become the first civilization destroyed, not by the power of our enemies, but by the ignorance of our teachers and the dangerous nonsense they are teaching our children. In an age of artificial intelligence, they are creating artificial stupidity. They're after the young votes. They're after our youth. Got to think about who educates them. If you're not talking about it, they're listening to their teachers. They're listening to the news. Heaven help us. All right, who mentors them on what is right and wrong? That should be the parents at home. That should be, family members. That should be the community at large. It shouldn't be your school teacher. Do they understand why communism and socialism are bad and wrong for the U.S.? Most of them now are walking around thinking what? Socialism and Marxism. Hey, let's give it a try. It works. If we look at it on paper, it looks pretty good. Oh, we know it's been tried over in those other countries. They just didn't know how to do it. We know how to do it. No. All right, now why does it matter? Why do I say they're after the youth? Why am I giving you all this information? Because the Texas median age for men is 33.5 years old. Women, 35.4 for a total median age of 34.4. That's the 20 to 40-year-olds who make up the largest voting group. And guess what, folks? Those are your millennials. Those are the ones that have spent the last 20 years going through that education system, being taught socialism is good, capitalism is bad. You should vote with your heart, not with your head. Right? But how do you engage with them? Okay, I'm kind of like, you guys have all known a lot of this stuff, but how do you engage with them? Well, when you're talking with them, there's going to be times where they're going to say something you might agree with. Agree with them. Let them know that you're not always confrontational. You're not always against everything they say. Instead of necessarily making statements or lecturing to them, ask some questions. Well, what do you believe? Why do you think that's true? How did you come to believe that? And then what do you mean by, and then ask them to explain it. 9 times out of 10 they can't. They can only parrot what they've heard because that's what they were quizzed on and that's what they were graded on. But if you ask them for their opinion, they usually don't have one. All right, questions to get them thinking. A good friend of ours works in a university up north, and he uses some questions with students and colleagues, and he asks them, do you think we need more or less government interference in our lives? Why? And then he waits for an answer. Do you think states or federal government should have more control? They're all going to say states. They're not going to say federal. Do you think manufacturers and consumers can resolve the issues in the market? Or do you think the government needs to interfere and set all the pricing and do everything in the marketplace for them? They're going to say let people do their own thing. Do you think our military needs to be stronger or weaker? And then just wait and listen. Do you think we need more taxes or less? You usually want to ask them that after they've had their first job. They get that paycheck and they say, well, wait, what's this for? What do you mean? What's that? I'm supposed to make this much. I should have this much. Where did it all go? Okay. And what he often found after they gave their answers was they revealed themselves actually to align with the Republican ideals. They didn't even realize it. Many of them that he worked with They actually were fully identified as Democrats. They voted Democrats, everything else. And he goes, no, you're right in line with the Republican values. But he didn't lecture to them. He didn't have to beat them over the head with our pillars. He just said, why? Why do you believe that? All right, now what can you do? And we've talked a little bit, or Sharon already left. Bring someone new to the next meeting. Don't just come by yourself. Bring someone new. Neighbor down the street, somebody new that moved in or whatever, just bring them. Reach out to your lawmakers, your city council members, your school boards, etc. Reach out to them. Shari's passing out a handout which covers this a little more in detail than what I'm talking about. Of course, number 3 is volunteer. Need to get involved. Become a deputy registrar. Help get people registered to vote. Help the candidates you agree with. If you agree with a candidate and you want them to win, help them. 9 times out of 10, they won't be able to do it all on their own. Number 4 is vote. I should have in between each one of these, vote. Make sure you vote. I don't think that's an issue here. I'm pretty sure all of us voted during the last election, election before, and what have you. That's great. Okay? But you need to get everyone else out there to vote as well. There's a shocking statistic that I think it was 13% of Rockwall voted in the last municipal election. 71,000 registered voters, and we had a little over 9,000 people vote. So all problems that people want to complain about, or anything that people want to complain about, just over 10% made that decision. And the others, well, and I can hear them. I've talked to some of them. I don't need to worry about that. Nobody's that stupid. How would that ever pass? Come on. No, guess what? If you're not voting, that's what's going to happen. So we live in the land of the free because of the brave. It is important to respect the sacrifices these men and women have made for our freedom. We're not being asked to fight a foreign war. We're being called on the domestic front lines to battle for our own cherished beliefs. It's here in Texas. So do not stay silent. Do not sit on your hands, because I'll tell you right now, if you don't want Texas to become like California, you need to get out, get involved. This is a good start. We need this room to be full. We need to actually overflow this room and move to another facility. Okay, and that needs to happen with every one of our groups and everybody throughout this county, throughout the other counties. We need this to happen. Because if you don't mind that Texas becomes like California, don't worry. You don't have to do anything. It's already happening. And it's not because of the people moving here. They're a small portion of it. It's because of what's being taught to our kids. It's the millennial aspect where their mentality, they already think and believe this. And they can't understand why we're so backwards and we're such Neanderthals, and well, why do you still want to ride a horse? Well, you can just get in a car. It's a lot quicker. Okay. Why do you like to go shoot plays? I don't understand that. Okay. We need to become the vocal majority, and that time is now. A lot of people used to tell me, oh, don't worry, we need lions to wake up the sheep, to get the sheep to understand what's going on and that they're being led down the path of slaughter. No, that time has passed. That was about 15 to 20 years ago. We need the lions to wake up the other lions. We need to get out there as a pride. And we need to take back our country, take back our states, take back our counties and our cities. And we need to all do it together.